This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning and welcome to the debate show. I am your host, BA, along with Jack Hirsch and James Martin. Hope you fellas are doing really good today. And we are coming off to last night's win. We're going to debate a question coming off of last night's win of Toronto beating the Dodgers. And I'm you know what? After having conversations about the refereeing and people getting paid off in baseball and basketball and stuff like that to cheat and whatever the case may be, I don't even know what to say about sports anymore. I'm so confused. But anyway, let's go into some wholesome conversation about baseball. What is the greatest single game postseason performance in Major League Baseball history? Go ahead, Jack.
First up, congratulations to the Toronto Blue Jays for winning last night. I thought they'd get swept. I still doubt if they're going to win the series, but if they do win today, any team that's down 2-0, any team is in trouble. They're in the hole, best 4 out of 7, okay? So Dodgers better win tonight, but if they do, they'll restore order and they should, be fine. But big game tonight, that there's been a lot of great postseason performances. I mean, there are a few that stand out, amongst the others. The most obvious that would stand out off the top of someone's head would be Don Larsen's perfect game in the 1955 World Series. It was the teams are tied up 2 games apiece. So that pivotal 5th game decided which team would go up 3-2. And with Larsen's, perfect game, it put the Yankees up 3-2. And the Yankees ultimately, won that series in 7 games. That was 1956, excuse me, not 1955. 55, the Dodgers won the World Series, and then the Yankees recaptured the title in 56. Excuse me. I was off 1 year a moment ago. But for me, it might not have been the best single game performance exactly for efficiency on the field, even though you could argue it came pretty close. But when you talk about the biggest pressure-packed situation of all, it was the 7th game of the 1991 World Series, and it's Brian, a player that you're very familiar with from all his great years in Detroit. He's a Hall of Famer, but he didn't do it for the Tigers. So I don't know how much use he had to you at that point. He did it for the Minnesota Twins, Jack Morris. Okay, to go 10 innings and win that game 1-0, 7th game of the World Series against the Atlanta Braves, and a very good Atlanta Brave lineup too. Very good lineup. And the manager, Tom Kelly, kept wanting to take Jack Morris out. And Morris told him, "You're not taking me out of this game." And afterwards, even Tom Kelly, the manager, basically said he screwed up by leaving Morris. And even though they won the game, he wasn't taking credit, the manager. He says, "I can't believe I let Jack Morris pitch 10 innings. But that's what happens with certain iconic players. They earn that right. But it could have happened even with the Yankees, something like that in 2003. They played the Red Sox a seventh game to see who would go to the World Series. And Mariano Rivera had pitched 3 innings in relief. And the most they ever used Rivera in his career in relief had been for 2 innings. And he pitched 3 innings. And Joe Torre kept saying, I can't let him pitch more, even though he had no one left in the bullpen in addition. And Don Zim and Torre discussing it. Rivera was going to come out of the game. He was going to go 6, 7, 8 innings if he had to. It was crazy, but safety and conserving a guy's arm was out the window at that point. And that's what happened with Jack Morris. And when the Twins scored the winning run in the 10th inning, it was Morris who led the charge out of the dugout. This is the pitcher stomping on, near home plate. And what a gutsy performance. Talk about an athlete wanting it so bad. No athlete ever was more of a competitor in a game than Jack Morris was for the 7th game of the 1991 World Series. Most pressure-packed situation, and he went over the limit. So maybe there were games where pitchers maybe were, another performer a little more effective, but no one ever duplicated a situation like that before or since.
Who was the pitcher that he was starting against?
John Smoltz.
Good job.
Yeah. Smoltz pitched a tremendous game that, Smoltz would have been a hero.
Those questions is like, because he's got all that in his head. So
that's more I don't know than I know. I mean, but Smoltz pitched such a great game. Smoltz deserves to be remembered, but unfortunately, when you're on the losing end of a game like that, hardly anyone kind of remembers you. You don't get the credit, even though you came up big yourself. Smoltz really came up big on that night.
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm.
They didn't let him go 10 innings, though. But Bobby Cox, the manager, was a little smarter than to let this guy go 10 innings. But Jack Morris wouldn't let the manager take him out of the game. It was one of these, you take me out of this game, I'm going to kill you attitude. And the manager's backing up. Whoa, this is like, one of the great pitchers I've ever been involved with. When he says it, I better listen. It's something like that. A quick side note happened to me when I coached JV baseball. I knew a kid very well. My pitch, I wanted to pinch hit from. We were down 1 run, 2 outs in the last inning. Because I had a great relationship with this kid, he was able to talk to me this way. He said, "You're not taking me out of this game." And I had that type of relationship. I said, "Okay, hit." He grounded out to end the game. It still bothers me to this day. I just should have yanked him for the pinch hitter.
Hey, and let me tell you something too, that he's also known for that. I remember that game because of the scowl that he had. Wow. When the coach came out to take him out, the manager came out to take him out, and he told him that, and he just scowled at him. The look on his face, like, get back in the dugout.
Something like that happened recently, with another former Tiger, Max Scherzer. He wasn't coming out of the game with the Blue Jays, with the manager. Mm-hmm. Certain guys have the right to do that if they're Hall of Fame pitchers, but they can only do it once in a while. It can't be a constant thing like to chase the manager away. That doesn't work. But you could do it once in a while. That's why, guys, when Travis Kelce bumped Andy Reid, he didn't push him. He got too close. It was out of line. But there's a certain greatness that Travis Kelce had and a certain relationship with Andy Reid where Reid isn't going to bench him that moment. You move past it because you know what the relationship is.
And just to carry off that too, just remembered that Reid got Kelce back by bumping him too when he came off the field this year, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
So yeah, James, what you got?
And, in regards to baseball, it's one of the toughest things for me because I'm not really a baseball fan, and I don't, as much as passionate as I am about football, basketball, these are things I live. These are my pastimes when I coming up as a kid. My dad loved baseball, but I did not. And I still watch it, but I'm going to say that for someone who didn't like baseball, for someone who didn't watch it, I still admired certain players. I admired greatness. I've always admired greatness. And so there's been people that have come along, even when, particularly when I was young, that you couldn't help but notice it. Even if you're not watching, if you don't like sports at all, you're going to know these people's names because of how great they were. And then for the moment at that time in 1977, I'm going to have to say Reggie Jackson and his 3 home run. It's just it was just impressive. I mean, I wanted all the clothes. I wanted everything. I didn't even want to play baseball, but I wanted everything that Reggie Jackson had because of how great. And just to see what he did and come back out of the dugout and salute the fans. I wanted to do that myself. I wanted to be able to say I could be that great at that moment at that time. And it was an impactful thing for me, for someone who didn't like baseball. It's just I was, and then of course, I'll be honest with you, the color line, seeing someone look like me out there great doing something that was just impressive. I mean, and his home runs, the 3 consecutive home runs were on the first pitch on each one. It wasn't like he was striked out or anything like that. They were on the first pitch. And so for me, and I would have gave us a second nod to Kurt Schilling with the Bloody Sox game in 2004. I mean, my man.
New York guy. New York guy.
He pitched a great. No, he pitched a really good game, but
I'm just saying gutsy.
I mean,
But he had a torn tendon, and he's playing 7 innings. He only gave 1 run up.
yeah,
So I mean,
and then he wouldn't have been in there, and he would have been done for the rest of the postseason. Come on. And he could have changed the stock. It's not a big deal. It's uniform dirty, get some blood on it. It doesn't make it better.
Like you said, the New York guy, yeah, but definitely Reggie Jackson is my choice. I would say.
I was at that game. In 1977.
Wow.
I was in the upper deck. Between past the first base line, and the guy I was with, my friend. He didn't like Reggie at all. He couldn't stand Reggie, and I was a big Reggie Jackson fan. I thought he was cool, despite Reggie's antics. I liked his antics. It was up my alley. So when Reggie hit his 3rd home run, my friend was like in shock, and I was like shaking him physically, Yeah.
Wow. So you guys, wow, that's impressive that you were there.
Reggie walked the first time he was up. So yeah. And it was the 3 swings, you're right. And the story that he always liked to tell is that before the game in batting practice, he was like zoned in. He was hitting them all out, and he wondered whether he was leaving his best during batting practice. He had it on his mind, and apparently he wasn't.
Wow. But yeah, that's my guy. And that's what I would choose as the best postseason single game performance. Yeah.
Yeah. With a home at Sosa, Howe, and Hooten, was it? No. Wait. Sosa, yeah, Charlie Howe was the last homer he hit into the bleachers. Yeah, I think, that would be my guess. Those three pitchers. Not that it matters, but that was the deciding game, and the Yankees won the series in 6 games. And Reggie became the MVP of the series, and that got him the nickname Mr. October.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, he fouled that up in 78 with even better performance in the postseason. Not as dramatic, but he did a good job in 78.
Well, and Reggie's also famous in Detroit baseball indirectly.
For the All-Star game.
For the All-Star game, he hit one of the more famous home runs in baseball history because of how far it was. Where I don't know what they ever measured it out, but we hear that story.
Yeah, it went over the roof, didn't it? Yeah, it went over the roof. Can't measure that. You don't know where it fell. They're still looking for it. And they just tore the stadium down like 10 years ago.
Well, you got to be careful with these measurements, because when I was a kid, we grew up believing the longest home run ever hit in baseball history was Mickey Mantle's home run, 565 feet. Now we know that's a myth. Now, no way did he hit it close to 565 feet, because no one comes close now. Apparently, the ball landed and rolled a long way, and they counted that, and then they embellished it with some additional feet. let's just call it a tremendously long home run. But no, certain things when no one comes close to it and you don't have conclusive measurements, you gotta kind of have to then disregard it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, I like both your guys. Postseason players that shined in those moments. But I'm gonna keep it current. I'm gonna go with Otani. 10 strikeouts and 3 home runs. I mean, I know it wasn't a World Series, okay? Granted, it was a postseason game, though. And it probably wasn't one for all the marbles, but that's still impressive. 10 strikeouts and 3 home runs in a game. Come on. I mean, in a postseason when you're on a big stage.
3-0. He wasn't on a big stage, Brian. They were 3-0 the Dodgers. Everyone knew they were winning.
Hold on. Calm down. First of all, he's on a big stage because it was a postseason game. It wasn't a regular season game because, not many people watch regular season games that are avid baseball fans. It was a postseason game. So, yes, he was on a big stage, regardless of what the score was. But he was on a big stage, and he did that. 10 strikeouts and 3 home runs. I like that just to keep it current. Those guys that you mentioned, that's traditional baseball right there. I mean, that's old time. That was when baseball was baseball. When we watched that, what was it? The Twig this week in baseball. But anyway, all right. So, was New York Jet owner Woody Johnson out of the line by singling out Justin Fields for the team's trouble? Let's see. I'm gonna go with you, James, because I kind of figured Jack is gonna go on a tyrant on this one. But anyway, go ahead, James.
I mean, when I heard it, I mean, everything was from a short or intermediate version of what was said. It was either out of context. It was either just like one-liners, and everybody just took and ran with it. But for me, I said I always like to watch things in context, and so I listened to the video. And the interviewer or the reporter came at him with a question that had nothing to do with the player, and it had nothing to do with Justin Fields. It had everything to do with Aaron Glenn. They were asking him, were they confident that he could turn things around? And he thinks that Woody Johnson says that he thought that he is coming around on some things. He said, but it's very difficult when you have a quarterback who has a rating with what he has, and he said the kid, and then he goes on to say that he has ability. He has ability, but for some reason things aren't jiving. And so he also said, what else did he say? He said that if you look at any head coach with a quarterback like that, you're going to have a similar result. I don't have a problem with what he said because everything was true. The optics, Jack, I'm the person who picked your team almost every game to win because I was believing with the talent and everything that's there. I thought that they could go ahead and win because all you have to do with a guy like him and his talent that took off for 43 yards for a touchdown and a run against the Dolphins, he's got that kind of talent. Why are you not utilizing this guy with his legs more until the passing comes around? That's just obviously he's a different type of talent. And I think to me, I have to blame the coaching. I think you gotta have culpability with the game plan. Some of the game plan is off with offensively. Now, mind you, I think the player is off. Yes, he's had some bad moments. He's got to be culpable as well. But I don't have a problem with what the owner said because to me, what I think, if anything, he maybe could have kept that in house. But he was asked a question and he brought it out. So these people are who they are. They're not going to change. When you listen to owners talk, they're rich. They want things the way they want it. They're in this big buddy system, and it's just what it is. But to me, I've heard other quarterbacks that are panelists now, like Kurt Warner, say he's right. The evidence is there, and I agree wholeheartedly. I don't have a problem with what Woody Johnson said. He wasn't malicious. He just said what it was, and that's it.
You know, guys, James, like you and Brian are going to criticize a Jerry Jones. You're going to attack a Jerry Jones. But let me throw this at you.
Well, he makes it
How
easy.
many owners know the amount of football that Jerry Jones knows? All these owners. How many really know football? And if they don't, it's their obligation to know football. It's their obligation to get involved. They know the team, get involved to an extent. You got to give your coaching staff, your GM, the responsibility to make decisions, but you're also entitled to step in. You own the team. And it doesn't mean that your GM and coach necessarily know talent more than you know as far as making a big decision. Someone decided to sign Justin Fields on the Jets. Someone wanted Justin Fields. Was it Woody Johnson? Was it, Aaron Glenn, the GM, whatever? The feeling was Aaron Glenn wanted him. Justin Fields had two other stopovers beforehand. He was with the Chicago Bears. He didn't do that badly. They were thinking of moving forward with him as the quarterback. In other words, he was there 3 years, and the Bears had no clue what to do with Justin Fields because they now had the number 1 pick in Caleb Williams. And if they stuck with Fields and he had a good year, they'd have to give him a big contract. The Steelers started the year with Justin Fields. They benched him for Russell Wilson. Imagine that. And it's not that Fields messed up per se. They didn't think his upside, Tomlin didn't think his upside was that great. They thought he had a better chance of winning with Russell Wilson. And we see what Russell Wilson did before with Denver and after with the Giants. And who made that decision? That's what I want to know. If Woody Johnson was behind that decision and he really wanted Justin Fields bad enough, and then he should get criticized. We should hear about it. We see something like that playing out at Cleveland with Shedeur Sanders. Who exactly wanted Shedeur Sanders? We don't know. We kind of speculated with the owner that forced it, on the coach and the GM. And Justin Fields is making $20 million a year. I know we have a debate. We got to be at opposite ends of the spectrum, but this is too complex to be in exactly opposite ends of the spectrum. You're paying a guy $20 million a year. Isaiah Thomas, Brian's favorite, had a remark when he was handling the Knicks running operations. I got Brian with that. I love digging him with Isaiah Thomas. But he said during exit interviews, this and that, this isn't charity. This isn't charity. The man is getting paid, like $20 million a year for, approximately over, 2-year contract. And they expect him to produce. It's a producing game. It's not about, Justin Fields' feelings are going to be hurt, this and that. Was he out of line by singling Justin Fields out? The answer is going to be yes, because he also should have singled out his coach, Aaron Glenn, as well. Doubled, the blame, and maybe even blame himself. Maybe he said, look, I told Aaron Glenn I thought it was going to be a good signing, so hold me accountable. So, yes, he was out of line in that respect.
Well, he's not the GM, though. He's actually going. I mean, why can't you call a rat a rat? Why can't you call a duck a duck? I mean, it is what it is. I mean, at this juncture, you're 0 and what? Are you 0 and 6 or 0 and 7?
0 and 7. But give Woody Johnson credit. He is staying behind the coach. Having the coach's back. And I want to see Aaron Glenn come back next year. Let me make my position clear. I think he's in a miserable job, but I want him back. I want him to continue. I want him to have a chance to get better. The only way I wouldn't want Aaron Glenn to come back next season if by somehow a Mike Vrabel becomes available and you have to pounce on it immediately. Someone like Sean Payton was suddenly available. Otherwise, I want Aaron Glenn back.
So, I mean, in regards to this, though, I still think that Woody Johnson didn't say anything bad. He didn't. Even if he did single him out, because he brought it up. He brought it up about the quarterback. I mean, they didn't ask him about that. but he gave the reason as to why he thought that, the problem with or not the problem,
James,
but
you're
not
condescending. James,
it's
he
not.
said if we had a quarterback who could complete a pass.
Yes,
That's
I mean, but
insulting.
these are facts, though. That's not insulting. Insulting is paying somebody $20 million and they're not doing their job. That's what's
Yeah.
insulting. That's it. What else is he supposed to say? I mean, you're trying to get a return on your investment, and it's not happening with the big fat
Yeah.
goose egg.
Just
And
keep in
so
mind.
that
Just keep in mind, he's the owner of the team. He can say whatever he wants to say.
pretty much,
Was he out of line, Brian? That's
and I don't think
It don't
he's
make a
out of
difference
line.
if he's out of line. It doesn't make a difference if he was or not out of line because he's the owner. He can say whatever he wants to say.
But I've heard worse, is what I'm saying. I've heard worse.
Right. Jerry Jones has done this so many times too. This is what I'm talking about. He's an owner. If it was the GM or if it was AG and he came off abrasive, actually, he did come off abrasive when he was asked about the quarterback situation this week. Kind of saying, are you starting Tyrod Taylor? He was like, that's for me to know and you find out, kind of basically.
Yeah, wait. Explain this to me, Brian. I don't understand it, okay? Injury reports come in because, for the betting purposes, because you have to know, because people have to know who's playing and who's not playing. But and if someone is potentially injured, you can't withhold the information. You can't act as a decoy. So why is Aaron Glenn allowed to play this decoy game as far as who's starting and who's not with the quarterback?
He's not the first coach to do this. The coach for Green Bay did this when they had when Malik Willis and Jordan Love, when Jordan Love was injured. He did this because the Lions are going to play them. And, they were going back and forth with it. So, because he was asked this question too. And he said, hey, when I was a defensive coordinator for Detroit, we had that going on between Malik Willis and Jordan Love and they didn't tell us until the last minute. That stuff, that injury reports are for people who bet. They don't really necessarily have to go out there and say, they do have to, obviously, per NFL guidelines, you do have to say who's injured and who's out by a certain point of time. But as long as you keep it, you can keep it up to the day before the game and just let them know. That's why there's people that are questionable. That's why there's people that say, hey, that's why there's coaches that say, hey, this guy was a game time decision. And there's been games where there's game time decisions. So.
But a question here, and this is strength likely off the exact question. Should Aaron Glenn move on from Justin Fields? Tyrod Taylor is not the Jet quarterback of the future. He's not going to be their quarterback next season. Should we find out? I know it's brutal watching Justin Fields. I know it's painful, and it was so painful for me the last game. I said I did something very rare. The game didn't have my full attention. I started playing around on social media, and I'd look up to see the plays. I couldn't take it anymore. I was bored out of my mind. And Rob Gronkowski said the same thing. He said, this is like so boring to watch. It was the worst possible entertainment you could have. But we got to know about Justin Fields. He's on the contract next year. Don't we want to conclusively know beyond the shadow of a doubt he's not going to be the quarterback going forward, the starter? And if that's the case, keep him on the team as a backup, but say, look, he's not going to be our starting quarterback next year. We're paying him, so we're going to keep him around. He's going to be a backup, but we're going to be looking for starting quarterback next year. What do they have to lose to play him now? We're 0-7. Tyrod Taylor had open receivers. He couldn't even get the ball to them. He showed more poise than Justin Fields, but his arm was so underdeveloped during the game.
No doubt you want to keep Justin Fields in the game. Just like I said earlier, to get a return on your investment. But my thing is, with this question, you said, was New York Jet owner Woody Johnson out of line by singling out Justin Fields? No, he wasn't out of line. To me, you know who's out of line? It was Justin Fields himself. The response when he was told about what happened, he just shrugged it off.
Well, what can
come
he
out
say?
with.
What's he
I mean,
supposed to say?
come out with some passion and say, yeah, you know what? Like he did say, I'm my own worst critic, but he needs to say that maybe he's right. Maybe I need to take some culpability
No,
here.
no,
And
no.
yes, for
Well,
sure.
culpability. We know how terribly was. If he said, "Well, if I had better blocking, a little more time to throw, I could complete a pass," that would cause division within the team.
I'm not saying him for him to say that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying take the responsibility himself and get better. Then say we're going to be better.
Well, to be fair,
Say
he has said that a few times this season where he says it's on me to get to be a better quarterback out there. He said that a couple of times this year. So it's not that he's not taking culpability for his issues. I think the general thing is the problem with teams nowadays, the formula is there. Teams just don't use it. You got to build the trenches. You got to build from the inside out. And the problem with the New York Jets right now, and because of the fact that they're missing one of their key offensive guys for the rest of the season, that's not helping them either. But that offensive line is horrible. It's horrible. 9 sacks they had in one game on Justin Fields. And granted, 3 of them were probably because of Justin Fields was holding the ball too long. But that's still you still got 6 sacks that had nothing to do with Justin Fields. Basically, you got to block. And if you're giving up, I mean, what I'm seeing for the offensive line, it gets to a point in certain parts of the game where they're just giving up.
well, the problem I have with that, what you're saying is you got to have a quarterback or the coach that knows how to audible and change because they can run the ball. They can run the ball. Why aren't you doing RPO? To me, you're not utilizing. Why are you having this guy in drop back situations where you know your offensive line is not able to handle that? They do better. I watched some of their games. They have better run. They have better run schemes. Why aren't you just taking advantage of that, coach? Why aren't you taking advantage of the situation where the quarterback has powerful legs, he can run. Put him in a position where you design runs.
Yeah,
you know what's ironic about this? Had the Jets stayed with Aaron Rodgers, they probably would have won a couple of games and been like 2-5, and we'd be talking about what a disaster it is with Rodgers, how terrible it is. Now realizing 2-5 looks good now compared to what they are.
I mean, that's a what if. It could be the same thing. It
could
they can be 0-7 too. This has got to come to a point in the season where I kind of mimicking both what Dan Campbell did in his first season in Detroit and what AG is doing in his first season in the Jets. Now, like I said, the first season in Detroit, Dan Campbell didn't win a game until the 12th game of the season. Okay. And we're on the 7th game. Now, also in that season, he fired the offensive coordinator around this time, as a matter of fact. And I think AG is about right here saying, you know what, it was cool that I brought the passing coordinator over from the Lions, but he's doing jack as far as offensive coordinator is concerned. So probably it's time for him to move on for, what's his name, Eggstrad. I don't remember the offensive coordinator's name all the way because he was a passing coordinator here. So anyway, so if he gets rid of him and gets a different offensive coordinator, maybe that'll change the offensive output that the Jets are having. You got to remember something. AG is a defensive coordinator. He's a defensive coach. He's kind of like Mike Tomlin. So he depends on the offensive coordinator doing his job. So that's probably the first thing he's got to do. When you got a rookie offensive coordinator, that's a shambles right there. You should get somebody that has some kind of experience. And even when the Lions got Nate Lynn as an offensive coordinator, he did have experience. He just couldn't do anything. Yeah, or Anthony. Yeah, Anthony.
Yeah.
He couldn't
Anthony Lynn, come on. Anthony Lynn, when he was in charge of coaching, they drafted Justin Herbert. Herbert should have been starting immediately off the bat. It should have been announced. Great talent, drafted number 6 overall. He says, no, he's going to sit a year and hold a clipboard behind Tyrod Taylor. Imagine that. Now, very unfortunately, Tyrod Taylor was given a faulty shot by one of the team doctors, and Justin Herbert, with no preparation, was rushed in to the first game, like virtually minutes before kickoff, and he had a sensational rookie year. What good would holding the clipboard have done? He would have wasted a year. And that's the brains of Anthony Lynn that I think of, the judgment call. I mean, we shouldn't know more than a head coach. We really shouldn't. Okay.
I mean, at that same level, he got thrown into that circumstance. Who knows what would have happened if he would have stayed behind Tyrod Taylor for the entire year and,
he
got
would
some
have had
tutelage.
the same year he had his rookie year. He would have had the same great year, but there's no substitute for playing to me. But in some
that's
cases,
just about the individual. I think Justin Herbert, he got thrown onto the spot. You got nothing to do but, go out there and perform. And sometimes when you get thrown out there in the line of fire, some guys fold and some guys outperform. And that's what I think Justin Herbert did. He outperformed, and that's what was good about the whole situation. It was a lucky thing for the Chargers at a time that they had a quarterback that, went out there and did his job. But at the same time, he could have fell flat on his face too. You never know. But we know the result. I just think Justin Fields, like I said, that's the reason why Anthony Lynn got fired from here, because of the fact that he wasn't doing a very good job as an offensive coordinator. So I think this is the same thing that AG has to do. But anyway, enough of the Jets.
Yeah. Amen.
Who is the best player in NBA at the moment? And we are talking about peak value and not necessarily accomplishments. Go ahead, James.
Man, there's like several players to choose from, and I'm going to say that they're all internationally known. They're all international players. That should be another question that we should bring up. Will there ever be another great American? Was LeBron James the last American hero in players coming from
Probably
homegrown? Who knows? We'll see. But all the players that Jack, in this question that you brought up, they're all international players. I mean, we got SGA, Luka, Giannis, and last but not least, my guy that I'm going to pick is Victor Wembanyama. And I'm only going to pick him because, I know it's his second year and he didn't play all of his rookie year. He's an unfair advantage. He's a guy that's just freakishly, naturally gifted and then skilled at the same time. 7'3" that grew 2 inches to 7'5", put on 25 pounds of muscle. The first two games are unreal. And these are against potential playoff contenders that he just made look silly. What he put up? He put up 40 points and 15 rebounds and 3 blocks against the Mavs. AD and the other big guys there, they couldn't handle him. They just couldn't handle him. And this is a team, Jack, that you're talking about, this potential contending for NBA Finals. I think I mentioned this last season. One time we talked before about what team that we should be looking at. I thought San Antonio might be one of those teams.
Yeah.
And so it's because of this kid. If he's healthy, if there's no issues with blood clots and anything like that, I think he's the future, obviously, of the NBA. And he's gonna supplant Giannis. He's gonna supplant Luka. And those guys are great. SGA. I put his name in there, and I put him internationally because he's from Canada. So he scored 55 points in his last game, and they were without their number 2 guy. They were without their Jalen Williams, and they had 2 double overtime games back to back. But they were on the backs of SGA. But even saying that, I still got to pick Wemby, and I just think that Wemby got pulverized by Zion. Zion looks good. He was really good.
The best player. Why don't you go with your guy? You're a Pelican fan. Why not say Zion is the best? Because
he still lives in New Orleans, and there's plenty gumbo and etouffee there left. And so we got to make sure that Ozempic is working for a full season first before we put the range on him. Trust me, I want to do that. but it's going to be Wemby for me. And 9 blocks against Zion and crew. 9 blocks. That's just almost unheard of, man. It's just unreal. And I'm putting him in the category of Kareem and Wilt. He's kind of like in that range, man. Except he's got some Hakeem Olajuwon moves combined. So he's a combined freak. So that's the guy I'm picking, man.
Yeah, I mean, if James were a sprinter, he would have more false starts than anyone else. He doesn't read the direction. It says at the moment, and James is talking about the future of the NBA. We're not talking about the future. I mean, we're not talking about next year. Maybe by the end of this year, Wemby is going to be the best player in the NBA. It says at the moment. At the moment. Next time, Brian, you got to underline it for James, okay? Maybe circle the thing at the moment. And Wemby is getting there. And I believe he'll be there someday, but he's not quite there at the moment. He had a sensational opening night against the Mavs, and the Mavs will be good by the end of the year. I think they're serious contenders for the NBA title but by the end of the year. I know the Mavs lost to the lowly Washington Wizards, and the fans were chanting fire Nico Harrison. But fine, the Mavs could be a play-in team as long as they peak by the end of the year, and Kyrie is going to be back, and Anthony Davis is healthy, etc. They're going to be a force by the end of the year. I'm holding to that, but they're going to be struggling mightily the first half of the season. The best play in the NBA, I agree with James on this. There are several to choose from, and no one can really put down your selection over a number of guys like Jokic, Luka, but the one guy is Giannis still. I think he's got the best all-around game. He runs the court better than the other guys. He defends better than the other guys. They played OKC an exhibition at the end of right before the season began, and SGA went one-on-one with Giannis. Giannis took him to school, and SGA wanted no part of Giannis. I mean, because Giannis is better than SGA. Giannis doesn't really have anyone on that Buck team. He is the Buck team now, and they did win a championship with Giannis. Let's not forget that as well. So, you could name Luka, but his defense is a little spotty. Wemby, I agree with you, James. He'll be the best player in the NBA, and it might be before the year's out. Before the year's out, I might agree with you, okay? But at this moment, after a couple of games of the regular season, I don't think we could quite anoint him that at this moment, even though I think he will be that. I just don't think he is that at the moment. But at this moment, I think Giannis, I would give him a little edge as a better all-around player than Jokic and Luka. And notice we don't even discuss Anthony Edwards, who was supposed to be the face of the NBA.
They got smoked by the Lakers last night. Yeah, I like Giannis. I like the Giannis pick. I think that 31 and 20 last night, and they're 2-0. That's 20 rebounds and 30 points is just impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like Giannis, but to me, he just doesn't have the freaking. I mean, they call him a Greek freak for a reason, but he can't shoot the three. I mean, this kid could shoot the three, and he's 7'5", and his wingspan is just unreal. And 9 blocks in the game is just that shouldn't even be happening. I mean, don't get me wrong. Rick brought up a great point that I watched that a couple of times when Zion dunked on him. Zion gave him 27 points, and so he's if Zion can stay healthy, New Orleans is going to do well because the rookies that came off the bench gave him double digits, and so that bodes well for them. Even though they lost in overtime, they're 0-2. They got a bright future ahead of them.
And everything. Joe Dumars running the organization, the Pelicans.
Yeah, they look really good. I think. With that said, again, I just optically from what I see right now, I still think Wemby is I think he supplanted everybody just from where he's at.
If Wemby stays healthy for his career, basically stays healthy, he might turn out to be the greatest player to ever play the game. because he could dribble, shoot, rebound, his height, his versatility.
And he's 21.
Exactly. If he start when he starts physically developing, getting stronger. But you mentioned the point. A big, tall kid like that who's basically lanky, can he, withstand the physical rigors of the NBA?
In this NBA, of course he can.
Well, can you
This
say
this is the ninth.
injury-free?
This isn't
Injury-free.
Charles Oakley. I'm about to say this isn't Charles Oakley's NBA, where you get knocked off your, and Rick Mahorn. Those guys enforcers. There's no enforcing in the game now. And also with that said, he's put on 25 pounds of muscle, so he's bigger than he was last year. So it's an unfair advantage. It's just he's blessed. He's gifted with natural stuff, and it is like Shaq. When Shaq came into the league, that was just totally unfair for people. It just didn't make any sense for somebody that size to move the way he did and how dominant he was when he was peak Shaq. But this kid is already peak at. He can only get better. And what I've seen right now, 40 and 15 at 21 against the Mavs, that's just unreal, man. So I think right now he's the future from this point going forward, from what I see now. It's just, but I agree with you. I have to I have to defer to you with Giannis. But I would still say even SGA, he didn't have all his players, and he's 55 points and two double overtime games. Man, he's playing well as well. So that's what I got. I don't know what you got, B.
Yeah, I like the Wemby one because that was going to be my guy too. SGA is close. You guys are right. There's a plethora of players out there that are, up and coming right now, and they're playing at a high level. Giannis is one of them as well. I mean, there's just that's what's good about the NBA right now as far as the players are concerned. You have a lot of players that are making big impacts. I could add Cade Cunningham today because I'm a homer. But anyway, Brunson's playing well. These are players that are leading their teams. So with that, being said, I mean, Wemby's good. Wemby's been, besides being posterized by Zion last night, and he got posterized. I think that Wemby's always, they've always talked about Wemby, analysts and everything talk about he's a freak of nature. He's one of those players that don't come around but every like 20, 30 years. So you gotta see what he does. But yeah, I'll agree with you on the Wemby one. That's unfortunate. Yeah. That's because they don't understand that stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna throw one in here real quick. To throw you guys off. Who was the better player between Barry Sanders and Walter Payton?
Who would I rather have and who was the better all-around player? The better all-around player was Walter Payton. He did things, did everything well, Walter Payton. He would catch the ball out of the backfield better than Barry Sanders. He blocked better than Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders was a better running back, actually, I'd rather put the ball in Barry Sanders' hands and let him do his thing more so than even Walter Payton. I'll take either or. It's one of those things, if we had the first two picks in the draft and they were the first two who were going to go, sometimes it's okay, let the other guy go and I'll take the next guy. It doesn't matter to me. That's a type of situation. But if I had to pick between the two, not career accomplishments necessarily, but peak value, I like Barry Sanders. That's just me. But how do you make an argument against Walter Payton? I don't want to start saying, well, Barry Sanders does this and that a little better. I just feel he was a bit more of a dynamic running back. Great versus great.
How you riding the fence like this? You just named all the great things that Walter Payton did, and then you're going to go pick Barry Sanders? Look, man, everything you named was correct. Who was the better player? Running back in regards to how many years he played and the stats that he put out, of course, Barry Sanders has the accolades. I mean, he's got the most negative yards out of any running back ever, because probably due to his offensive line play and the way the style that he ran, he did more lateral movement than anything. To jerk people out of their shoes and snap ACLs. Rod Woodson. Uh, so I mean, if you remember that, he shook Rod Woodson out of an ACL. Yes. So
Rod Woodson was one of my favorite players too, and I remember
he's a great player
in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, great player, man. With that said, man, Walter Sweetness was just unreal, man. Like you said, he threw he's the guy that thrown the most touchdown passes by any running back, and then they weren't just wobblers; they were dimes. He threw some really nice passes. He was skilled, man. This is the guy that ran that ugly, nasty hill in his backyard, to make sure he was in great shape. This guy was just a monster, man. I've seen some of those runs. It wasn't like Barry Sanders where he was just elusive. This guy would take on. He was 5'10" and maybe like 210 or something like that, and he would take on some of the biggest guys and just bowl over them, man. It was just ridiculous. Just like Megatron.
Well, let me put Brian in the spot. Brian, okay, big Lion booster fan. Brian's very knowledgeable. Let's say he was the GM of the Lions, and they were both the same age, 22 years old. And Sanders is on the Lions, and the Bears are willing to trade even up. Sanders goes to Chicago. The Lions get Walter Payton. Do you make the deal? I guess from Chicago wouldn't make the deal. They would stand pat.
Of course.
But the Lions would stand pat too, I'm sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that.
I mean, Barry Sanders is one of the few players that had such a great college career. And he was living in the shadow of Thurman Thomas, too. You got to remember that. And his last year in college was still one of the best ever in college football. And a lot of those records still haven't been broken yet. So
ridiculous.
If you're looking at that compared to what Walter Payton did at college, and you're making a decision based off that, I'm still taking Barry Sanders because he had a better prolific college career than Walter Payton did. And
there's got to be a caveat there. Walter Payton didn't play at a Power 5 school, nor was he exposed to the media to say that this guy could be a Heisman Trophy player. I mean, there's only one player that I think really that I know of that has some Heisman Trophy aspirations, and that was Aaron McNair that played for Alcorn State. But yeah, he played for Jackson State, man. There's no comparison because you didn't see him. There was no. I mean, but scouts saw him.
Well,
scouts saw him.
Just like Jerry Rice.
Yeah, of course, right. He went to Mississippi Valley State, and so they saw him, but nobody knew who Jerry Rice was, though. Outside of that, honestly, it just nor Walter Payton, nor Aeneas Williams, or great guys like that who went to HBCUs. So I mean, I get what you're saying because I watched Barry Sanders at Oklahoma State as well. I mean, my man had somebody just came close to his yardage, and I still don't even like to in Ashton Genty, and I still don't like to even give him credit because he played more games, and they counted more games. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you got to look at the fact that you're right because he was more prolific because he played on a power school. But I mean, even looking at that accolade, he played on the Lions, and a lot of people always say, "Well, the Lions wasted his career," and which may be a fair point because they didn't put a lot around him when they were there. I mean, they did manage to go to a couple. They went to the NFC Championship in '91, but other than that, they were just like they're making it in the playoffs and getting beat in the playoffs, so it didn't make a difference anyway. And I think Barry got tired of that. He's like, look, you got to put more people around me because you got to get a better defense, a better offensive line, a better quarterback, basically. And he just, he retired too soon to me. He retired too soon. And you got to remember that Walter Payton has like 37 more games than probably 2 seasons right there. than Barry has. And if Barry would have stayed in, we always say if Barry stayed in for such a long time, he would have passed Walter Payton at the time. You know, that kind of
He
stuff.
didn't care. He didn't care about records,
Yeah,
Barry
he didn't care.
Sanders at all.
He didn't care.
Mm-mm.
And Barry Sanders, just a side note, Barry Sanders is one of my all-time favorite players, and he's my favorite running back. But that said, I'm not going to discredit Walter Payton with not he had 16,000 rushing yards, and he also had receiving yards that was just out of control. So his numbers were great. And like, don't get me wrong, Emmitt Smith passed them up, but I couldn't put them in. If I had a Mount Rushmore running backs, Emmitt Smith wouldn't be on it. But Walter Payton and Barry Sanders would definitely be on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we are coming in conclusion to this day's debate questions. Please join us tomorrow at 8 o'clock a.m. for the Big Football Show, and which will be this panel inclusive of, as Keith will be on here as well, Keith Engel. Then on Monday, join us for the Keith and Jack Weekend Playbook at 7 a.m. And then, of course, Jack and Frank at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Monday for the Gloved Fist. We have many shows coming on in Northeast Streaming Sports. Keep in touch. We will have a promo out there so you can keep up with all these shows that we have on there. Y'all have a very good rest of your weekend. Enjoy the World Series. Enjoy college football. Enjoy pro football, basketball, and hockey. We got a plethora of sports. It's a sports person's dream. Have a great day.